Okay, go. Let me know about the sound if we're okay here.
Hi, everybody. Today we are lucky to have Alexa Peterson. She just finished her 5th season in the NPF,
this is a recorded
National
session.
Pro
Sorry.
Fast Pitch League.
She
for the
is
Cleveland
retired
Comets.
now.
And at the end of the season, she was tied for 4th in home runs, 3rd in on-base percentage, 8th in slugging percentage for a 949 OPS. She's a professional hitting instructor for the Hitting Vault, former assistant in outfield and hitting for the University of Montevallo. And as you can see, she's still supporting her Ducks at the University of Oregon, where they went to the College World Series a couple of times. She was first-team All-American, a Pac-12 batting champion, and ranks on Oregon's all-time top 10 in career doubles, home runs, hits, walks, batting average, and RBIs. And that's one of the things that we're actually trying to promote here, help you hit more doubles, triples, home runs, and strike out less, and so forth. So, Alexa, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Well, we just want to get right into how your hitting evolved to the highest level. When did you start playing softball?
I started playing when I was 5 in T-ball and kind of worked my way up for Little League and then moved on to travel ball where I was traveling all around and playing tons of games and then proceeded to go to college, Division I.
So I can't imagine that at 5 you were thinking of playing pro softball. So at what point did you kind of start changing from just recreational play to I'm going to start getting serious?
I think it was 2008. I went up with my family to Portland and watched the Olympic team. They were doing a tour around the U.S. So I got to see them play, and Pat Osterman, Kelly Kretschmann, Andrea Duran, and Tasha Watley. They're my idols kind of growing up. And so I got to see them play and then got to see them on TV representing our country. And I thought that was so awesome. And that was my goal kind of growing up, was to play for the Olympics or play in the Olympics. But I didn't find out about the NPF until I think my sophomore year of college. On the West Coast, a lot of people hadn't heard about it and just kind of still getting well known, social media and marketing and all that stuff. So that's when I kind of learned my sophomore year. I was like, wow, like that'd be pretty cool to continue to like get paid and play softball. Like how much better can it? So.
Yeah, I heard a quote from Jessica Mendoza, who said that even though she played on the Olympic team, that the most competitive that she ever played was in the Pro Fast Pitch League. So you're at the highest level there.
Like kind of like an all-star team or all-star league of the last 10, 15 years. Pretty much everyone on the field is an All-American. A lot of them won a national championship or was the best on their team in college. And so it makes it, it's a lot harder than when I was in college. College was difficult at times when you played, those upper level teams and in postseason and stuff. But in the pro league, every single day it's a grind. You're playing the best of the best.
So let's go back to the beginning. And how were you taught to hit then? And is it different than how you hit now?
Yeah, I was taught some good basics of how to have a good starting stance, have some rhythm. I was taught a little bit of the mental side, what you need to have. I had good coaches in that. But unfortunately, I was taught a lot of knob to ball. So taking my hands to the ball this way with a really low elbow on every pitch. I was taught to do that. And so because of that, I was able to have good contact, a good contact swing, but I didn't have very much power for my size. And then I was also taught to squish the bug and be very rotational. So because of that, I was sometimes I was very to the zone and then out of the zone because I was rotating and my backside had so much weight, I was squishing the bug. And so we'll talk a little bit later about how we want to have our hips rotate. But that was kind of how I was taught initially as a kid, which that's good. I feel like when you're younger, but I wasn't quite progressed, didn't progress as quickly as I would have liked to, and I was able to get away with having good pitch selection, a good mental approach, and good timing with the swing I had, and that's what I feel really helped me. I was still very successful and was able to go to Oregon, but I really think that I was able to improve later on, and once I really learned my swing, the right swing.
So you're saying that, in your opinion, your right swing was taught in college?
Yeah, so I worked with Matt Lisle my junior year. He came as an assistant coach, and I spent 6 days a week with him. He had an open hour every day for us, basically, for us to come and work. And I started working with him, and it started clicking and making sense, like how my body is supposed to feel and work in the swing. He showed me video of elite hitter after elite hitter, and it just started to click and make sense. And it had drills that could make me feel what I was doing. And so I really just immersed myself in him and spent tons and tons of hours with him and just diving in, really breaking down my swing and just totally revamped it. And then that next spring came out, and I think I went like half the season without a strikeout, which that was crazy. I struck out, every, couple game or two. But I was striking out less, and I was hitting for twice as much power as I ever had. And that was just working with him for a couple months. So that's definitely where I think that my swing took off, was my junior year from Matt Lisle working with me.
Well, that's what I think most people that are on this journey with us through this internet clinic is wanting to find out is, okay, if there's a better way to hit, we want to get to it. So let's have you tell us what are some of those elements that you believe are the best way to hit, or the pro level hitting now?
Yeah, well, starting just with our grip, it's important that you don't have a super deep grip with your hands. A lot of kids want to death grip it and have it really deep in their hands. Want to have a little bit more, relaxed with their hands. Still gripping them that tight, but how we want to position our hands are either have the knuckles kind of lined up like that, knocker knuckles like that, or kind of have the knocker knuckles in between here, just like that. Those are kind of the two most common grips that elite hitters have. You start getting into this range where you get the big knuckles lined up. As you can tell, it starts to bring my elbows out, and it's just a little bit harder to create more whip with your barrel and stay through the zone that way. So that's kind of where you want to make sure that your kids are starting at. And then when you get into the stance, with your stance with younger kids, it's important that you don't force them to do something that's really kind of natural. You'll see elite hitters, some bigger elite hitters, maybe with a wider stance like this. But if a girl is 5'10" and 200 pounds, she's able to generate a lot more power easier in this stance than maybe a 10-year-old kid. So the same thing, if you're like this, really narrow, it makes it difficult for kids to work on the timing. So it's just easier to keep it as simple as possible when they're younger. So the most common starting stance you'll see for younger kids that I think is good is to be about shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit wider. Toes need to be a little bit angled in. You don't want duck feet. A little bit angled in or straight is fine. Knees inside the feet. Weight nice and balanced. And their hands somewhere kind of in this range. That's kind of good for them to have. You also want to have that front shoulder down a little bit to make sure that it will help them later on when you stride forward. So going from there, going to the load and gather. So a lot of kids, their natural tendency is to just go. Their natural tendency is just to twist, or throw their hands up and back. They want to make sure that it's not. Another thing they'll do is they'll just shift their weight back. So you can call it like a load or gather, because you don't want them to think that we're shifting or throwing, like loading really far back. So sometimes gather works. We want to have our shoulders work a little bit more this way, with our front shoulder working down and our back shoulder working up. a little bit. With that, the barrel becomes a little bit more vertical. Some hitters start a little bit more flat, so they're going to have more vertical movement versus someone that starts here. They might have a little bit less. So that's kind of what you want to have with your load and your gather. Let's go. Next part, we're going to go into the stride. So your load, like I said, we want to make sure that we're not having our weight shifting really far back. We're kind of keeping that pressure on the inside part of our back foot. Your front shoulder's starting to work down, back shoulder's working up. Some people like to think that they're pinching their scapula a little bit, but we don't want to twist, right? So we have that good load here. We pick up our foot, stride forward. The stride length is dependent on how wide you start with. So if I start a little bit more narrow, I'm going to stride farther. If I start a little bit wider, I'll have a little bit less of a stride. When you stride forward into your launch position, that's what we call with the hitting ball. The launch position is basically just when that front heel hits. Some people call it heel plant. You want to make sure you're about the length of your back. Give or take is good for most kids. We don't want to get too wide or be too narrow with that. So about the length of your back. You want to make sure so that I've loaded, I've strided forward. And at this point, my knob should be pretty close to being down towards the catcher. Somewhere down towards the catcher, not towards the umpire, not towards home plate. This is really common for hands to start to go forward too soon. You have to create good hands and hip separation. So you stride forward, your hands should still be back for a split second. Your hips should be open a little bit. Your front foot should be about 45 degrees. That's the average of most hitters. You'll see some variances with that, but the majority have about 45 degrees. Front knee needs to have a little bit of bend. Some pressure on the inside part of their back foot because you're about ready to rotate. So this position right here is super important because this sets you up for the whole rest of your swing. How your hands are supposed to work, how your hips work, all of that. So a lot of kids try to work a lot on outside or inside pitches, and they can work on their hand path all they want, but every time when they stride forward, they look like this. Maybe their weight's back here, right shoulders up, back shoulders down. And so everything's starting too soon, which will take away from your mechanics and from your overall power that you're going to have. So going from there, how we want our hands to work. So I'm right here at my good wide stride that I've strided forward, and there's no pause. This is just, I'm pausing right here to kind of demonstrate. But in a full swing, you're not pausing. As soon as that heel hits, you're then going straight towards the ball.
Can I interrupt and ask a couple questions?
I'm sorry?
I said, can I ask a couple questions so that we help the viewer understand a little bit?
Yeah.
I saw everything you did. I heard everything you did. And obviously a person watching this won't be able to feel what you were feeling in your body. But if we could describe, when you are loading, gathering, what tension, are there tensions in your legs? Is there tension in your shoulders? And what kind of percentage? And then maybe on the lower half when you stride, and you were talking about separating, what's that feel like in a person's body?
Yeah, so for a lot of kids, it helps them to feel with their shoulders when they're loading, that they're feeling like they're rocking a baby. So if you were to rock a baby, you wouldn't rock a baby like this. You'd rock a baby like this. So it's kind of the first movement. You feel like you're rocking a baby. And as you stride forward, you're going to feel like a little bit more tension on your back shoulder right here. Because if you just rock and go forward, your hands are going to go with you. So feeling like you're rocking a baby backwards and then kind of pinching a little bit tends to help with a lot of hitters keep their hands back. So you're going to feel a little bit more tension across your body, your upper half here. You're going to feel, because it's a little bit more stretched. You're not feeling tension. Right here, I feel no tension. When I pause right here, if I go like this, I feel tension across my core a little bit and my upper half right there. Now, when you're fully actually swinging, you're not going to like typically feel and be able to pinpoint exactly where you're feeling the tension. But when you're breaking down your swing, you're pausing, you're practicing that to the T, you can feel it a little bit better that way.
Okay, yeah, that was fine. And then the other thing was I noticed, so your knee, well, it may be because you're doing it slower, but it looks like your lead knee is somewhat bent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you stride forward, when you get into your launch position, you want to have your knee have some bend in it because it helps you adjust different speeds of pitches. So if you go and stride forward like this, one, your weight's not going to be balanced, but two, you can't sit back, wait for a changeup. So to explain real quick, hit for a changeup or an off speed, you stride forward, you're recognizing right here that it's a changeup or an off speed. What you do is you sink a little bit into that front side, keeping your hands back, and then you can rotate hard towards the ball. But if you stride forward with it locked out, you're not able to adjust. You just have to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
And something I think I failed to mention is it does help with keeping your body balanced. So when you stride forward, keep that locked out, or striding forward. My head is a good indicator as to where my weight is. My weight right now is right here on my back side, which is going to make this shoulder want to go up, which makes it pop up underneath it. If I go too far forward and I have too much bend in my knee, my head is right here, and that's not centered either. We want to make sure that we kind of have that happy medium of our weight being pretty centered, give or take a little bit, but we can't be drastic one side or the other when the heel hits after striding.
Okay. So I see a couple of notes here. Upper half like a seesaw, lower half rotating hard, finish.
Yeah. So our upper half. This is kind of one of the things I was talking about. I was taught to do knob to ball when I was younger. This is this, going kind of a really downward steep plane with my knob coming down. This elbow working down as well. Okay, what we want to do is to have this elbow work up and the back elbow work down. Okay, so my barrel is actually working behind me a little bit. This is what creates a lot more power with your swing, with your hand pack. Excuse me. So if I were to go up and try to hit something anywhere on a wall as hard as I could, I'd probably take like a running start. That would go like this. Right? I'd extend this front elbow and I would rotate like this. I wouldn't go up to it and take my hands to it to try to hit it, right? Now we have to obviously be like hitting a moving ball. So we're going to be a little bit more toned down than just this, right? But this is the action we would be having if we didn't care what we were doing. We would just flail out, right? But that same idea of having that barrel work behind our body, like this. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, great.
Okay, a little bit more behind my body as my hips are rotating hard will create a lot more power than if I work this way. Like that. So that's how we want our shoulders to work. So really you can just work on is going from here to here, going from the knob down towards the catcher, knob to first base. Just working on the upper half, not rotating my hips at all. If I were to use my hips in this and rotate my hips, that is what would be bringing me towards the ball a little bit more. But I'm really working my shoulders here. Now, I'm sure people are already starting to freak out, saying that I'm going to pop up everything. So if you have that movement with your upper half, like this, and your weight is back here, you're going to pop up everything. Okay? If you start that too soon, right here, you're going to pop up everything. So it's all about that's why the launch position is so important. You have to get to this position, balanced, in order for our hands for our shoulders to do this. And now when I incorporate my hips, I can adjust different heights of the pitches. So if I go for like a really low pitch, that's when we'll see a little bit more of that elbow working a little bit more down, right? So if I end up getting on a really, really low pitch, I'm not going to go like this. I'm going to naturally work with that low elbow down towards the ball. So for me personally, put that scouting report out there for the MPF. I'm much better at lower pitches than I am upper pitches because my natural tendency of being taught year after year after year of elbow down, naturally, I'm better at lower pitches. I have a much tougher time of being able to adjust to upper pitches, higher pitches, because I have to work very consciously and trying to get this elbow to be able to work up. So that's how we want our hands to work to help with power and consistency. Does that all make sense there?
Yeah, that's fine. It does sound like, so you're saying because of your training, you certainly can hit the low pitch on a rise ball or the higher pitches. You personally have trouble, but this swing that you're teaching can actually hit the rise ball.
Right.
Okay. All right, because I know a lot of coaches tend to just recognize the rise ball and let it go. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I personally tried to never swing at a rise ball unless it's being pitched consistently for a called strike. It's really a rise ball is a pitch to get a hitter out, get him to pop up, that type of thing. It's not typically a very good pitch for hitters to swing at consistently. So I'm never actually looking for a rise ball to hit unless it's being called for a strike.
I used to love to hit rise balls that didn't rise, so those were the ones I could crush. But that's obviously a mistake by the pitcher, not so much.
Right, and those ones you definitely want to be taking advantage of. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. There is 2 points left: contact and finish.
Gotcha. Oh, lower half too. Forgot to mention about that.
Okay.
So lower half. So I was talking earlier about what I was taught with squishing the bug. So I was taught when I rotate my hips, I was taught to do this. You're going backwards.
My sibling knew
basically squishing a bug. You don't want to rotate backwards like that on a consistent basis because as you can tell, my weight's sitting backwards. Okay, so oftentimes that happens when a hitter strides forward, they're not balanced, their front shoulder's up instead of their front shoulder down, okay, and then they rotate back here, okay. As the more elite hitter, as you get older and you can work on your elite swing, your hips should be rotating so hard and you were balanced to begin with that back foot actually will come up off the ground or more forward sometimes. So one drill, kind of a good one, I can just show you to explain it a little bit better. If I were to squish the bug, when I swing and hit this ball, my heel is going to hit the bucket. Okay, can you see the bucket? Are you able to see the bucket in here? Yeah, okay. So we want to make sure that we don't have our heel hit the bucket. So I'm here. So here's what it looks like if I were to hit the bucket. Okay, I just rotated really hard. My heel hit the bucket. So what we want instead is to stride forward and rotate our hips hard. And I actually have my heel come up and maybe a little bit forward, depending. All right, so look like this. Okay, that's what we want, more like that instead of squishing backwards. So that's kind of with our lower halves, how we want to have our lower half work a lot more. So we get to, so we kind of move on to contact. Now let's see if I can go a little bit closer. So we've loaded, we stride forward, front shoulder down, back shoulder up, nod to the catcher. Shoulders are working this way. I'm starting to straighten my front knee as I'm rotating. Rotate my hips hard. Get to contact point. We want to make sure we aren't fully extended. We are in really tight. Okay, this would be perfect contact point right about here. We have our barrel a little bit angled. We don't want to have it completely level. We have some tilt with our shoulders this way. It'll be a little bit dependent on the pitch. If it's a little bit higher pitch, we'll have less tilt. Super low pitch will be really tilted. We want to have, for a lot of hitters, their bottom hand is kind of almost angled up a little bit, like this. And this one is more like that. You can see it like that. So I'm right there. Got it contact with some bend in both of my elbows. And again, you're going to see, if you were to watch a slow-mo video of an elite hitter, there's going to be times where they're not on time perfectly. So their contact point might actually be out here, right? But they were able to extend through the zone and make contact. Or like we were talking about with the lower half, say they're really late on a pitch. They were late. They're not going to be able to have that back foot come off the ground or a little bit forward. So this is stuff like that contact point and what I just showed you with your lower half is what we are striving to be consistent. But the better we are with our timing, it's going to be more common that that actually happens. And that's where home runs happen, right? So we want to try to make that be consistent. But you'll see elite hitters maybe with their contact point, maybe they are actually right here, right? They've squished the bug, their hands are in tight. They probably got jammed. But we don't want to replicate that swing. We want to replicate the ones that are more of home runs, doubles in the gap, that type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then our finish, this is also dependent a little bit on how we were with our timing. If I get jammed like this, my extension probably won't be as good. And then my finish won't be as good. Right? But we want to be trying to practice good contact, good timing, all of that, every single swing that we make in our practice and everything. When I go and make contact, extending through the zone and rotating all the way around, whether it's with two hands or with one. So kind of showing like that to home plate. Right, that's being the full rotation of our hips. A lot of hitters just go up there and they're just contact and they don't even use their hips. So they're able to stop right here really consistently, always, right? But if we're really rotating our hips as hard as we could, we should be finishing with our back towards home plate. Like that.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you for all of that.
It's really easy, right? There's just a couple things, right?
Yeah. So
there's
well,
a
that's
lot
why
that goes into it, which, as you can tell, like that's what takes hours and hours and hours and thousands of reps to get to the elite level, doing it the right way. It's not just doing reps to do reps, but actually being conscious about what you're doing, looking at yourself in the mirror, watching video, that type of stuff to do the reps the right way to get all these pieces.
Well, and you were mentioning that you really didn't learn this swing until second or third year of college. So obviously that's part of the goal of this hitting clinic that we're putting on, having you on and everybody else, so that we teach kids and anybody, teach them sooner, so we don't have, I found that if you hit better and you hit more doubles, triples, home runs, and strike out less, you have more fun, and so you play longer and you can achieve higher levels anyway. So, but I have noticed that not everybody is still trained in this swing yet. Do all the pros use this swing?
Yeah, the majority of all elite hitters in baseball and softball use this swing. There's always going to be the hitters that were able to, they were taught a different way of getting there. So, for example, Megan Wiggins, who's a hitter for the Pride, very good hitter. She actually starts with her bat on her shoulder, And when she loads, she maybe gets an inch off of her shoulder. She keeps her barrel back really low. But she was able, she creates the same movement, but she's able to learn it without having to work the load here to give you momentum to go. So her swing looks different in maybe how she starts, but through the middle part of her swing, that's very similar. And so for all elite hitters that hit for average and power, because we want to do both, you might get a kid that hits for a lot of power and her mechanics are really bad, but she strikes out 100 times a season. Or you have a kid that can't ever hit a double, but they're able to get on a lot because they're fast, that type of thing. We don't maybe want to replicate those swings exactly, because we want to replicate the people that are doing the best for power and consistency. So those hitters that do that are the ones that have the elite level swing that are having these characteristics in their swing. So if you're the girl in your small town, she might be the best in the high school league. She might be able to get by because she has a great mental approach, pitch selection, and timing. You can still be a very good hitter with that. When you put in the mechanical side to that, that's where you become literally one of the best hitters, like Kelly Kretschmann, Crystal Bustos, that type of thing. So that's kind of, there are different swings, and sometimes something real just works for a kid. They're just able to continue at each level as they move up. For whatever reason, it just works. So for that reason, sometimes you don't need to change much in a kid's swing. They do something funky, let them do it. But the majority of elite hitters is who we want to be like. So that's what this swing is most like.
All righty. Well, I've got a few more questions for you before we finish up, and then I'll let you also give a little shout out on what you're doing now. There's also this mental approach you were mentioning at the plate. What kind of things are you thinking about, and does it vary on the inning or the number of outs or the score or anything else, what the count is?
Yeah, for me, there's times where I'm not feeling very good in my swing. I'm not seeing pitches very well. It's just the way that hitting goes. And so for those times, I'm able to recognize when I'm not feeling quite right. And my approach is then to see the ball, hit it. 2 strikes, watch the balls. So that's sometimes just my approach. I'm not worried about anything else except for that. And getting on base any way I can. So that's sometimes my approach when I'm feeling good in my swing and it feels consistent and BP and doing well. I then change my approach to what the situation is based off of the pitcher, the inning, that type of thing. So if I have a pitcher that is pitching 3 out of 4 pitches a curveball and throwing a screwball in for a ball every time, but the curveball is a strike, I'm going to move on the plate and either get hit by the inside pitch or attack the curveball. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for anything else. So it's hard when you're not elite, if you're the leadoff. I've never been a leadoff, so I have a couple at bats to see what the pitcher is doing and what they're throwing. And then, so it's important for me to be able to watch them. And so I base my plan off of what the pitcher is doing. And some people argue that maybe they don't ever think of what the pitcher is doing. But for me, I think it helps me a lot to have a plan based off of what they're doing and what my strengths are. So, for example, if a hitter, the best pitch that they hit, so for me is the low, I'm better at lower pitches than I am upper pitches. So I'm not going to be looking for a rise ball to hit, unless, like we said earlier, the pitcher's throwing a lot of rise balls for a strike. I'm going to try to do damage in my area that I am best at, which would be low pitches. So I might take a curveball high and out for a strike first pitch, and that's okay. Now, if she puts that curveball low and out, I'm attacking that hard, right? That's in my zone where I can do the most damage. Something else when you go into like kind of innings and stuff like that. Later on, when it gets towards the end of the game and it's seventh inning, whatever, nobody on, no, it's 0-0 ball game or tie game, and you're needing to just move a runner. Sometimes I'm going to change my approach to I'm only hitting an outside pitch just to move the runner. That type of thing. You got to think situationally. And same with number of outs. If it's a tie ball game or there's a runner at third, I'm going to look for something to drive right side or drive it deep into the outfield. And then you really got to think about situationally with the game what you need to do. But there's also certain kids that if they do that, they shut down mentally. So you have to think about the type of hitter that you are. You're the type of hitter that's able to have a plan, can recognize pitches well, because if you can't recognize pitches, then you can't hit an outside pitch that way, right? You're just going to make contact. And so if you are a hitter that can mentally have the plan and execute it, then you're going to be good to go. But that'd be something to kind of progress into. We worked a lot on that in college, and that's how I got comfortable with it. Because right at the beginning, I was like, oh man, this is stressful. Like I have to only hit the inside pitch or something like that, or I have to only hit something outside or only hitting changeup. And so that kind of stressed me out, but we worked on it a lot in practice. And it helped me feel more comfortable in it. Now when I went into a game, I felt more prepared and could execute the plan just to move a runner or a sac fly, that type of thing.
So are you trying to hit home runs? Are you trying to hit it in the outfield? Are you just trying to hit it hard? Or does it vary?
For me, I'm trying to hit the ball hard. Every swing that I take, I want to do damage. If I swing and miss, man, it was the most beautiful, hard swing that I ever took, right? I'm not trying to hit home runs, per se, but the more that I work on my mechanics and kids continue to work on their mechanics, they're going to be practicing the right mechanics, maybe the right launch angle, that type of thing that's going to help the home runs happen. So for me, practicing in the off season and then practicing during season, I'm practicing the swing that will help me with home runs, doubles, and the gaps. And then that just happens in the game because I practice it so much, if that makes sense. But I'm not mentally taking home runs. I'm trying to make solid contact and execute the plan that I have at the plate.
Well, that brings me to the next question. How much practice do you do? Maybe during the season, off season, what's your schedule of what you're working on?
Yeah, so I just got done in middle of August, about when we get done. And then I'm going to take about a month off or so, do some like hiking, family stuff, stay active in general, but not actually hard training. And then so next month I will get back into my hard training. I work with a personal trainer who works on keeping my body balanced, because a lot of injuries happen when you are not balanced with your muscles, your body. And so to work with him on that, and then just general strength training and speed training with him as well. So I'll work from September all the way till probably middle of April or beginning of April hard, trying to get stronger and stronger and faster at the same time. And then I'll start to phase out with him so I'm peaking at the right time and I'm not dead tired for when season starts. That's my like physical training aside from softball. And then softball itself, I'm giving my arm a little bit longer of a break since catching a lot of games this summer and I'm getting old. So yeah. So I'll start probably about end of October or November, starting to get my arm back into shape, and I'll start hitting 3 times a week or so. When it gets to January, and that's hitting it hard. I'll be hitting, throwing, doing all my defensive stuff 5 days a week at that point. Just really trying to prepare myself, which is allowed. When I was college coaching, I loved college coaching. I loved being able to make connections with the players, but I wasn't able to train the way that I wanted to and capable of. And so by giving, I work with the hitting vault and then do private lessons. And so this allows me to have a lot more time for my training.
What kind of drills do you do?
Well, we talked a little bit about my tendency of my elbow to work down. So I work a lot of drills. I'm trying to get my elbow to work up. So I'll do some, I'll be in my launch position. So it's already strided out. My knob will be down towards the catcher. I'll get like a lighter bat, maybe a little bit shorter, but lighter. And I'll work from there, from my launch position. I'll work on just trying to over-exaggerate this elbow working up as I rotate towards the ball. Okay, I'm over-exaggerating this because my tendency is to do this, which is really bad. So then when I'm in a game and a full swing, I'll be kind of right in the middle. And that'll be depending on how high the pitch is. Really high pitch, I have to get this elbow really high. On a low pitch, it's not too quite as much.
Now, is that a one-handed drill or is that a two-handed? You're demonstrating
one hand, and then I'll also do another drill. I'll show you with two hands. So I can kind of start in this launch position. I'll work on my elbow, this one coming up and this one going down. And my hips rotating, just straightening. So I'll go from here to here. Over and over again. This elbow working up as my hips are rotating. This one works down. I do about 3 of those or so. And then I'll hit away. That's a good one that I like to work on for my upper half as well.
Okay, I think sometimes we get confused when we think of practice. We have to hit every ball. It looked like a lot of what you're working on is just the physical movement within a swing and not actually hitting.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do a lot of stuff in front of the mirror. The kids I give lessons to, they have to go home and work in front of a mirror. And I tell them, you can just grab your hairbrush, be in front of the mirror, and work on what your body is supposed to feel like and move and see it too. So mirrors are a great way excuse me, to be able to improve your swing. And it only takes 5 minutes a day in front of a mirror for you to start to train your brain on what it feels like. And you don't have to be actually even hitting the ball. So that's a very good point. Is some of the drills I just do over and over again, just the movement of how my body's supposed to feel and look. And then I'm able to swing all the way through on the next one. So
So is there any practice equipment that you do? And if so, what? Well, obviously we saw you using a tee, so we call that a piece of equipment.
Yeah, tee balls, bat. I like to use these guys. They're the zip balls. I'll use these in front toss type thing. It's a smaller target for me to hit.
Those look like real softballs, but they certainly are smaller.
Yeah, they're literally a softball with real leather and real laces and everything, but they're just smaller. And I'm not sure exactly what the weight is, but they're relatively heavy, so they're not super light. And so you can actually use this for hitting. You can use it for pitching. For some pitchers, they like to feel something smaller to really accentuate their wrist movement. And then I also use it with catchers that I'm working with blocking. It's a smaller ball. And then I work it with my infielders as well. It's a smaller target. Outfielders can work on it. You can hit these because they're like a real softball. So super great to be able to hit the outfielders, hit them on the ground. They have to field it. And it's not, and you can have them have a smaller glove, little T-ball glove they have. If they bring their hand up, that ball is for sure going underneath the glove. So these are pretty multi-use. I love using these things. They help me a lot. And then I also I will be using this next off-season Blast Motion, the sensor. We got those this last summer. They started giving it to us to get information. Just a little knob thing that clips onto the end of your bat, and it tracks a bunch of things within your swing, like your your attack angle, which is your angle of your bat before contact. It does your peak hand speed, how fast your hands are going through the zone. You can video your swing and then get the numbers with all that. There's a bunch of other categories with it as well. So I'm excited to actually use it in my training this year to see my numbers improve and see how I can keep getting better.
All right. So those balls, those were called zip balls, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then you mentioned the blast motion sensor, and that's pretty much it. That and the tee and the just hitting away.
Yeah, I get like a little bit lighter of a bat. I was telling you about the one-handed stuff I do, so I'll find I have a smaller bat, a little bit smaller but lighter. Like I think it's a 30-20 or a 31-21 or something. And I'll do one-handed stuff with that. And yeah, that's kind of. I think that's about it. That's pretty much what I use.
Well, let me. I want to thank you for your time, but I want to give you a chance to tell us what you're doing. You say you give private lessons. You work for the hitting vault. Tell us about either one or both of those.
Yeah. So I give private lessons in Salem to about 30, 35 kids or so. It still gives me enough time to train, but then I'm also able to make an impact on kids and make a living as well. So that's what I do now for part of my time, and the other part of my time I work with the Hitting Vault. It's an online hitting program that is basically, it has everything you need that you need to improve your swing. And I wish that this was around when I was a kid, because I totally would have been using it. But we have a bunch of different features in it. We got the swing build program, which teaches the swing from the ground up in 6 different phases. Really easy with drills next to it that you can click on. But then Coach Lisle is explaining each phase, kind of how we just broke down right there. Probably a little bit more condensed though. So it's kind of easy for you to kind of work through it that way. We have bat speed training program that explains how you improve your bat speed but we also don't want to have your bat speed to be improved until you've mastered your mechanics a little bit more. You want to have solid sound mechanics. But for those hitters that are a little bit more on the elite side, maybe high school age, starting to get the mechanics really sound, we got the bat speed training program. We also have Swing Fit, which is a strength training program. And so we have 2 different Swing Fit programs. One is the elite, and one is just the regular Swing Fit. The elite is for the older kids, middle school, high school athletes that can bear weight, actual weight on squats and lunges. And the regular Swing Fit is for a little bit younger kids, getting their bodies to be moving in the right way, but body weight. I also do I do swing analyses. So the members can purchase, I think it's for $60 for one and $99 for 2 swing analyses. They send me their swing, and then I put it side by side to a professional hitter and go through using coach's eye, explaining, here's what you're doing in your swing, here's some lines, let me draw these out, this is what you want in comparison to the professional hitter that maybe swings similar to them. I try to find some lefties and that type of thing. So I do those swing analyses for them. And then we also have Swing 30 that we just came out with, where you get an email every day of drills you need to do, or explaining the load, showing pictures, video, examples, all of that. And then in the email, you're supposed to do whatever it says, read through the email and do the drills that it says in that email for 30 days. And so the idea is you're basically revamping your swing in crash course 30 days. So that's kind of some of the things that we have. We also have lots of blog posts and articles about hitting, or what equipment to buy, different things like that. It's really cool. And then obviously the main part, like I said, it's a hitting program. So the bulk of it is 70, 75 videos that are drills that you can go through and learn from the video and go and actually do it yourself. So the price of it is $150 for the starter, $199 for the pro, and $299 for the coach member. So with each of those, as you can tell, it sounds like a lot of money, but if you actually divide it up by 12 months, it's like a couple lessons that you would have in 1 month. So it's in a long course, it's a lot cheaper than if you were to be paying $150 a month for hitting lessons. You can just pay it $200 and have it for a whole year and be able to teach yourself. I mean, you kind of have to have a parent being able to help you a little bit, unless you're maybe high school age. I think high schoolers would probably do it on their own. But yes, that's kind of what the hitting vault is all about. And I love it because I get emails every week from parents telling me, oh my gosh, my kid has made such huge improvements. Here's their video, like look at the improvements. And so it's awesome to be a part of something that's really making a difference and helping kids reach their potential with their swing.
Did you want to show us a sample or?
Yeah.
Just...
Yeah, let me share the screen real quick. Let me know if you see it.
There's us. There's the webinar itself. There's the hitting ball.
Yeah, okay. So here's the website. This is the page where it has all the different videos in here.
And at one point, I noticed there's a lot of, this guy, this baseball player, and I think you made a comment that just kind of went by fast, is that now people are realizing that the swing for baseball and for softball, at least at the elite level, is roughly the same.
Yeah. There's a lot of hitters. You can put them side by side if you take the elite hitters of college. So I'm talking like the All-Americans of college, the best hitters in college, the best hitters in the NCAA. You compare those against MLB hitters, and you can find hitters that are hitting the exact same, like very similar style. And then in general, the meat of their mechanics are very, very similar. Like the only thing that I could really say could be different is you could argue that with the rise ball in softball, that maybe softball players see a little bit more pitches up in the zone, maybe than baseball players would. But even still, I mean, there's a lot of pitches that are coming right across the belt in baseball, which is common in softball. And so the swings in general are pretty much identical. If you see a softball hitter go down for a pitch down at their knees, and they're an elite hitter, their swing is going to look identical to a baseball hitter who's going down for a pitch right at their knees. So it was thought before, back in the day, old school thinking, that the swings are very different. Well, the amateur softball swing, so maybe a middle schooler, high schooler, not the elite softball swing, the amateur softball swing does look very different than a baseball swing. But when you take the elite and the elite, they're identical. So that's kind of our thought on that, and you can back that up with kind of video with it too. Just go look at the elite video swings, So, but these are the drills within here. There's a couple of them that are kind of informational. This one's talking about hitting with the tee, just how to wear a pitch. There's some good drills in here. And these are all drills. I use all these drills in my private hitting lessons with kids as well. So let's do you want to watch one of the videos?
Sure. That'd be great.
Let's do this one. This is actually one of the very few that you actually need some type of equipment for. The rest are pretty much you don't need any equipment besides a tee, a ball, or a front toss screen.
this drill, we're going to have something like a slant board or a cinder block or anything to elevate their back foot, get them in a good K posture. This forces them to have a K posture. They'll have that back foot elevated a little bit. You're going to see the shoulders in this good K. This forces our hitters to start in a good posture, maintain that good posture as they go. If you have a hitter that really struggles with collapsing their backside, you're going to see that putting them on this elevated slant board, it's really difficult for hitters to load or get back on this backside. It really forces their bodies to feel downward, feel that K posture. You'll notice that the slant board's really at the top angle right there. You step off really quick. As they get better at it, you can lower the angle more and more so the hitter can start kind of weaning off of this angle and start having a little bit more of a K posture until you can take it away. Starting at the very top, let's go back. You can see that the hitter can start at the top and work their way down, having this really good K posture. And you're just going to have them swing and hit from this right here. Good job, just like that.
All right.
So we got all those drills and informational videos. There's a section for flaws and fixes. So if you have a specific flaw that you know your kid is having, you can click on it and it has drills for you of how to improve that. And then we got the swing build program I was talking about. 6 different phases of the swing. And go to resources. This is pretty cool. There's a Swing 30 that you can subscribe to, and then there's the there's the guide for the hitting vault. But then there's all this other stuff that Coach Lisle has written about game day, how to prepare your hitters for game day. There's the bat speed training. Coaches only, so this is for the coach members only. Team hitting, pre-game hitting, kind of gives you ideas of how to work through whether you have 30 kids you have on your team or if you have 10 and how much time you have, that type of thing. Exit speed, explaining what that is, how to improve it. There's the guide for the swing fit. We got a section for blogs, which I'll be starting to write a little bit more on here. Got drills, for things with softball and baseball, fast pitch bats, cleats. So there'll be equipment stuff on here as well as informational. There's some cool stuff about. Sometimes they talk about elite hitters and have interviewed them or have been able to talk about scientific stuff. Like here's like more of the launch angles. There's one that talks about how to exactly mechanically hit an inside and outside pitch scientifically and how you actually do that. And then here's the swing analyses section that you do that. So yeah, that's kind of what the hitting vault's all about, and pretty cool.
Well, it looks like you're the superstar for the softball side. Is that true?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, the softball side for the drills in there, I'm demonstrating there. So
You need to turn your screen share off so we don't have this mirror effect. There we go.
that good?
Oh. Anyway, is there a
Okay, I think that's about it because she was going to share a promotion, but I have even a better one that I will throw in the chat here for you. Let me stop this screen share. Hold on, let me stop this. Now we're back here. What did you think? I appreciate you hanging in there with all of that. let me get you, I have gotten authorized for them to give you a 7-day trial, not a free trial, but it only costs $1. So let me post that for you. Oh, where did it go? I already know what it is. So let me type it in. https://bit.ly/the hitting vault. If you go there, you'll see you could sign up for everything. And they've actually, since she talked, they've added a lot more information and a lot more drills. So again, they have 3 levels. I'm a member of the coaching side of it. And they have one for just the players and how to learn. So some of these things, as it sounds like some of you are saying, you've learned something new, or it's sounding a little different. But believe me, this is where all elite level hitting is moving. So the sooner you learn it and have your kids apply it, you'll see them hitting more doubles, triples, home runs, and striking out less. And that would be great. So I promised everybody this would only run an hour, and we're already a little over. I will send out an email for the replay if you have some friends or people that couldn't get on this session. And then tomorrow we are going to be talking, I think we're going to be talking about psychology of hitting with someone that counsels pro players at not just in baseball, but in football, basketball, golf, all sports. So, female softball, anything, Olympic players. So look forward to any other last minute questions. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. Appreciate it.